You've got the idea. It came to you in the shower, kept you up at night, and you've been boring everyone down the pub with it for weeks. Your fingers are itching to open the code editor or hire engineers. You're convinced this is the one. The idea that's going to change everything. But here's the uncomfortable truth. You're probably about to make the same strategic mistakes that sink roughly 90% of startups before they even get off the ground. And no, I'm not talking about choosing the wrong tech stack or forgetting some semicolons. I'm talking about the foundational strategic errors that happen before you've even written any code. The ones that mean you could build the most technically perfect product in the world and it still fail spectacularly. After working with dozens of early stage founders and watching countless promising ideas implode, I've identified 5 critical mistakes that repeatedly doom startups in the pre-product phase. The good news? They're all entirely avoidable, with a bit of strategic thinking and some brutal honesty. Number 1, building before validating. If you build it, they will come. It's a lovely sentiment for a film about baseball ghosts. Terrible advice for building a startup. This is the classic founder mistake, and it plays out the same way every time. You have an idea, you're excited about it, so naturally you disappear into a cave and you build for 3 to 6 months. Building in complete isolation, you're perfecting features, optimizing performance, making sure every pixel is aligned perfectly. Then you launch it, product hunt, maybe some Facebook ads, perhaps just a hopeful post on Reddit. And you're met with deafening silence, absolute tumbleweed. Why? Because you never actually confirmed that anyone wants what you're building. According to CB Insights, analysis of startup failures, like 35% of startups fail because there's no market need for their product. It's over a third of all startup failures. And the truly frustrating part is that most of these could have been prevented with basic validation before building anything substantial. Real validation doesn't mean asking your mum if she'd use your app. Sorry, but she'd say yes to a gravel rating application if you built it. It means finding potential customers, ideally people you don't know, and getting them to commit something of value, their time, their money, or at least detailed feedback about their problem. The lean startup methodology, popularized by Eric Ries, emphasizes building a minimum viable product, but even before the MVP stage, you should be conducting customer discovery interviews. Talk to 20, 30, 50 people in your target market. If you can't find 50 people willing to spend 20 minutes to discuss their problem with you, how exactly are you planning to find thousands willing to pay for your solution? Here's the bit that stings. Sometimes validation tells you that your idea is shit. That's actually brilliant news because you've just saved yourself months, potentially years of wasted effort. You can pivot or move on to the next idea without having sunk your life savings and sanity into a doomed venture. The fix, before you build anything beyond a basic prototype or mock-up, have meaningful conversations with at least 30 potential customers. Not friends, not family, real people in your target market who have the problem you think you're solving. And if you can't get people excited about the problem you're addressing, they definitely won't get excited about your solution. Number 2, no clear target customer or problem. The everybody trap. Who's your target market? Well, really anyone who wants to be more productive could use this. Right. So everyone then. Brilliant. Good luck with that. This mistake disguises itself as being flexible or keeping your options open, but it's actually a strategic death sentence. When you're trying to appeal to everyone, you end up appealing to no one. Your messaging becomes watered down. Your product development gets scattered across competing priorities, and you can't focus your limited resources effectively. Think about practical implications. When you're deciding which features to build first, whose problems are you solving? When you're writing copy for your landing page, who are you speaking to? When you're choosing where to spend your tiny marketing budget, where do your people actually hang out? If your answer to who is this for is essentially anyone can find this useful, you're in trouble. Most successful startups start with an extremely specific ideal customer profile, not small business owners. That's still far too broad. More like solo accountants in London with 5 to 20 clients who are still using spreadsheets for time tracking and billing. That's specific enough to build around. Y Combinator, arguably the world's most successful startup accelerator, is famous for advising founders to make something people want. But the essential thing is you need to know exactly who those people are. Paul Graham has repeatedly emphasized that it's far better to build something that 100 people absolutely love than something that 10,000 people kind of think is okay. And when you're crystal clear on your ideal customer profile, everything else becomes dramatically easier. You know where to find them, what language resonates with them, what problems keep them up at night, what other tools they're using, what their budget looks like, and what will make them switch from their current solution. You can build a product that's absolutely perfect for them, even if it's completely wrong for everybody else. And that's not just okay. That's exactly what you should be doing. Amazon started off by selling books. Facebook started at Harvard. These companies evolved their target markets over time, but they started somewhere specific and expanded from that foundation. So the fix, write a detailed profile of your ideal customer. Give them a name, know their job title, their daily frustrations, their budget, where they spend their time online, what other tools do they use, and what would make them desperate enough to switch to something new. If you can't describe them in vivid detail, you don't know them well enough to build for them. Number 3, no go-to-market strategy. The it'll sell itself delusion. This is where technical founders especially tend to faceplant. You build something genuinely innovative, beautifully designed, technically impressive, and you then sort of launch it into the void and hope that people notice. Here's a harsh truth that every founder needs to internalize. A great product doesn't sell itself. Apple makes great products, and they spent over 25 billion on advertising and marketing in 22. If Apple needs marketing, you definitely need it. Your go-to market strategy needs to answer 3 fundamental questions before you write any code. How will you acquire customers? Are you planning content marketing, SEO, paid advertising, partnership deals, direct sales outreach, cold email? Each channel has different costs, timescales, and effectiveness, depending on your product and market. We'll probably do some social media. It's not a strategy. It's hope. How will you price your product? This isn't something you figure out later. Your pricing strategy affects everything from your positioning to your sales process to your customer acquisition economics. If you're planning to charge £10 a month, you need a completely different acquisition strategy than if you're charging $10,000 a month. The math has to work before you start building. How will you communicate your value proposition? Too many founders answer this question with features. Our app has real-time collaboration and cloud synchronization. Nobody cares about features. They care about outcomes. Our app helps distributed teams finish projects 40% faster without endless status meetings. That is infinitely more compelling. A proper go-to-market strategy gets mapped out before you build anything substantial. Not after, not during, but before. Because what you discover while planning your go-to-market might completely change what you decide to build, how you build it, or even whether you should build it at all. The fix, before you commit to building, create a detailed one-page plan answering what are your top 3 customer acquisition channels? What's your pricing model and why? What's your value proposition in one sentence? Saying we're too early for marketing, the visibility vacuum. This one genuinely winds me up because it's pervasive and so damaging. We're not ready to do marketing yet. We're still building the product. We'll start marketing once we launch. No, absolutely not. You're not too early for marketing. You're just scared of it, don't understand it, or think it's somehow beneath you as a serious technical person. Let me ask you something. Since when did letting people know we exist become a later stage task? You're building something for other humans to use. At what point in the process does it become too early to tell those humans what you're working on? Here's what actually happens with the we're too early approach. Founders spent months building in secret, convinced that someone will steal their idea if they talk about it. They won't. Execution matters infinitely more than the idea. Then they launch, and they're genuinely shocked nobody shows up. Well, yes, you've been operating under a self-imposed cone of silence. You've built no audience, no awareness, no anticipation, no trust. You're starting from absolute zero on launch day, trying to acquire your first customers at the exact moment when you're most desperate and least credible. Meanwhile, your savvier competitors who've been talking about what they're building have spent those same months collecting email addresses, gathering feedback, building trust, and creating a community of people who are genuinely invested in their success. Who do you think has the better launch? Marketing isn't just paid advertisements and promotional events, it's content, it's education, it's building in public, it's being visible and valuable in the communities where your future customers already spend their time. It's establishing yourself as someone who deeply understands a problem space long before you have a solution to sell. Some of the most successful software companies of the past decade started marketing way before they had a finished product. They were publishing blog posts, creating videos, building social media following, hosting webinars. When they finally launched, they had thousands of people already waiting, wallets open. Notion is a perfect example. They started building their audience years before their product was widely available, teasing features, showing behind the scenes content. By the time they opened up public access, they had a massive waitlist and an army of advocates ready to spread the word. The fix: start your marketing from day one. Set up a simple landing page explaining the problem you're solving. Collect email addresses. Start a blog or LinkedIn presence and share your insights about the problem space. Engage genuinely in relevant communities without spamming them. Share your journey of building the product. By the time you launch, you should have an audience that's already warm and waiting. Number 5, ignoring early feedback and data. You've built something. You've even managed to get a few early users. They're giving you feedback, and honestly, you don't want to hear it. This feature doesn't work the way I need it to. I can't figure out how to do X. The pricing is too high for what I'm getting. Your natural instinct is to think they just don't understand it yet, or they're not our ideal customer anyway. Sometimes that's true. More often, they're absolutely right, and you're too emotionally invested in your creation to see it objectively. According to research from Harvard Business School, startups that pivot once or twice raise 2.5 times more money, have 3.6 times better user growth, and are 52% less likely to scale prematurely than startups that either never pivot or pivot too many times. But pivoting requires actually listening to feedback and being willing to change course. Feedback isn't just qualitative conversations, it's also quantitative data. You need proper analytics set up from day one. Where are users dropping off in your onboarding? Which features are they actually using versus which ones do you think are important? How long do sessions last? What's your retention rate after 1 week, after a month? Too many founders launch without adequate analytics and then realize months later, trying to retrofit proper tracking, and realize they have no idea what's been happening. They've been flying completely blind, making product decisions based on gut feeling rather than evidence. Here's the thing about early data. It's the most valuable data you'll ever collect. These are your early adopters, your most forgiving users, the people who will tell you the most uncomfortable truth, if you ask properly. If you're not obsessively collecting feedback and analyzing user behavior during your first 100 users, you're wasting an incredible opportunity to learn. This doesn't mean you should chase every feature request or panic at every negative comment. You need to look for patterns. When 5 different users independently mention the same problem, it's a signal worth investigating. When your analytics show 80% of people abandoning at the same point in your onboarding flow, that's screaming at you to fix something. The graveyard of failed startups is full of founders who insisted users would eventually understand their vision, instead of adapting their product to what users actually needed. The fix: set up proper analytics before you launch, even if it's just Google Analytics and a simple feedback form to start with. Schedule regular user interviews, at least 1 a week in the early days. Create a structured system for collecting, categorizing, and reviewing feedback. Most importantly, be genuinely willing to change your product based on what you learn, even if it means killing features that you personally love. The path forward: good news. And there is genuinely good news here. is that none of these mistakes are inevitable. They're all completely avoidable. With strategic thinking, intellectual honesty, and willingness to do the unglamorous work before diving into building. Validation conversations aren't as exciting as writing code. Defining your ideal customer profile in excruciating detail isn't as fun as designing the perfect user interface. Planning your go-to-market strategy isn't as satisfying as solving complex technical problems. Starting your marketing before you have a product feels uncomfortable and premature. But this is the work that actually determines whether your startup succeeds or fails. The technical execution, whilst important, is almost never the reason startups fail. They fail because they build the wrong thing for the wrong people, with no plan for how to reach them and no willingness to adapt when reality doesn't match their assumptions. So before you open that code editor and start your 6-month solo building journey, take a breath, do the work, have those awkward customer conversations, write down exactly who you're building for and why they should care, plan how you'll actually reach them, and convince them to start paying you. Start building your audience now, not later, and set up systems to learn from every interaction once you do launch. When you do finally start building, you'll be building something that has a genuine chance of success, not just a technically impressive solution to a problem that nobody has. Now go validate something. Your future self will thank you.